This year, playing in the final, it means more than in the previous years. So now it's just like the most important one. Winning it would just mean that it doesn't really matter that you lost all the other splits. It would feel like the year is won.
Nuke has the flash. Alvaro is going to go for this. He doesn't win this.
Nuke flash forward. Humanoid flashed over him. Oh, his feet are broken.
If you lose, you might as well be last because it doesn't matter if you're second.
It's all for this, you know. All the works, all the hours, is to make it Worlds, is to make it to the big stage. Is what we live for.
A massive upset as MDK have done it. They will take down G2.
I think we can beat them. I don't think any other team will surprise us. I think it will just be Fnatic G2.
It would be an immense upset for everyone if we beat ADC team and we win the LEC Finals.
I'm looking forward to it.
And welcome back to the LEC Season Finals upper bracket finals match between MDK and Fnatic. The winner goes to the Grand Finals in Munich next Sunday. The loser faces G2 on Saturday. But thankfully for both these teams, G2 won yesterday, so they are both already at Worlds. Fnatic, I think have only missed Worlds twice in their entire history. MDK have made the last 5 on the trot. And now we'll see which one of these teams will be competing in those Grand Finals in Munich.
It's been 2 weeks since we last saw these two teams on the Rift. Many are excited to see what Mad Lions have been cooking for us. Many Fnatic fans in the audience today are ready to see Fnatic return to the season finals once again, given that last year they did fall short to G2. Let's see what they've got prepared for us. Naturally, Fnatic are the favorites coming into this matchup, but no one really knows what to expect.
At least of all, MDK. Because after we talked to them on the Euphoria podcast, they were like, look, sometimes we come into draft and we surprise ourselves. So I'm excited to see what they bring to the table, especially having those 2 weeks off. It feels like they're definitely going to have cooked up a few different aspects of their game to see if they can take Fnatic down.
Or they'll cook today.
Yeah.
Well, we don't know.
Sometimes you need to be a little bit, you know, loosey-goosey in the kitchen, flexible. We'll see if MDK can do their best Simone Biles impression in this game. Yeah, we'll see what happens. Azir banned away to kick us off. Fnatic are going to remove the Elyoya from our available junglers. I wonder if Mad Lions Koi will stick with the sort of conventional bans we've been seeing over the last couple of days. Misfortune, Zeri, both high prio. Ezreal as well, we've seen a lot. Maokai, Sejuani. Yone is the second ban though, taking away Humanoid's pool quite effectively here at Mad Lions Koi.
Yeah, the Yone pick was really strong for Humanoid. It was one of the things that he fell back to as his main AD pick in that mid lane, so not fully surprised to see it taken off the board, but still things like the Vi, a lot of the Sejuanis, the Maokai still available. We do know that the junglers do have Morgana prepped into that Vi, so I think that's why we're not seeing Vi kind of rise up in that priority for this round.
Excited. What will the priority be? First pick for Mad Lions Koi. We know that they love their Ezreal. We didn't really see much Corki the last time that we saw them. It largely fell to the wayside, but they're definitely willing to pick it. Looks like the MF going to be locked in. Shouldn't really come as a surprise given of how strong it is. It is typically used in the AD carry position. We don't really see it flex to mid, even though I've seen it a little bit. Yeah, I mean, but always you have to be cautious of what MDK may have prepared. In any case, a very powerful pick that gives you a lot of agency in the early game.
With the Morgana ban though, Vi immediately going to be taken. I would imagine the Corki going to be there as well. Very strong duo in the mid lane that you can try and play around, especially when you hit that Triforce as the Corki, and just sets you up very well for these snap engages in team fights that I think Fnatic will definitely be looking for, especially if they can try and get something like the Ezreal on this next rotation as well to try and go into that bottom lane, a safe pick that can just scale up against the Misfortune. I think you're in a really strong spot on this draft as Fnatic.
So for Mad Lions Koi, do you then look at the Ezreal and say, well, Fresskowy has brought that out once already. Maokai is going to get locked in. So just trying to deny Fnatic those really strong poke champions as the game goes on. With the Maokai and the Ezreal locked in, Fnatic now likely looking towards their AD carry. Otherwise, that pool gets very small through the second rotation.
Well, when we think of Fnatic, things like Zeri normally stand out to me, Kai'Sa as well. But it looks like they're going to lock in the Rell. Makes a lot of sense. Give Jhin something that he can have some agency on. Engage supports are often what we associate him with, and something that he's found a lot of success with throughout this year.
I'm curious if we end up with something like a Jhin Leona or something for Noah now, because, sorry, Jhin Rell in that bottom lane, because I think when you look at the champions that are available to put into that bottom side, there's not a huge amount that can try and match a lot of that pushing power from MF in the early stages. But also I think you have enough DPS that you can come through, especially if Oscarinin wants to take something that's a bit more damage oriented like a Renekton, and just play as a team fight setup with this Jhin and just being able to clear out mid waves against the MF.
One ban here from Fnatic leads me to think perhaps we're looking at an Ornn in the top lane for Oscarinin. Gives you follow-up engage on the Vi going in alongside the Rell. Put Noah on the Kai'Sa perhaps, or the Zeri, something that can really carry late-game teamfights if you want. Kennen removed by Mad Lions coin to get rid of some of that AoE control in teamfights.
The pick I'm thinking of right now is Cassante. I think
true.
Leona is what I'm very much expecting, and it's going to come through right now for Fnatic. They don't want to allow that combo. Alistar then leans itself to being the most optimal pick here, something that we've seen from Alvaro before, unless they want a little bit more lockdown from the Nautilus. But there's that Jhin you were talking about, Dagda.
Yeah, there was the other mindset from me was going, hey, maybe they go for the Ziggs, because with the Kennen ban, oh sorry, the Ziggs is banned, but I was going to say you need kind of AP damage here, so Jhin is a good pick, but you need something that can kind of lean into that. So maybe they do swap to Zeri, requiring that AP damage, but I'm not sure what Oscarinin could go for a top side.
I mean, if you do want some magic damage in top, Rumble's still available. Like, you
Yeah,
can
true.
still go towards that. Something we saw really heavily prioritized through the entire year. It's kind of fallen off a little bit. Looks like it might be Cassante for Myrwn in the top lane. Blindable, strong tank. I was talking to Odo about it yesterday. I was like, can you really respect yourself if you pick Cassante? And he said, no, but it is also the best blind pick in the meta right now. So not too surprising that Mad Lions Koi are looking at it in that top lane.
I was just thinking that Mad Lions could take the Rumble away, right?
True.
Because you've actually got decent AoE jungle setup for the MF Rumble, and then you just get a strong engage champion here, support role like an Alistair, and you're okay. But going for the Cassante instead still leaves that available with the Rumble for Oscarinin now.
They might do Rakan. Oh, okay, they want to go for Poppy, so they want to mitigate some of the potential dive. You think about the fact that there's a Rell, there's a Vi, the Poppy makes sense. I do think that it limits Mad Lions engage a little bit. At the same time, though, they have a lot of zone control thanks to the Maokai. They've got a ton of disengage tools. And when Fnatic are going for, well, I would argue a lot of teamfight dive, you would argue that, like, okay, with Corki and Jhin, they've got a lot of range at their disposal. They can play fairly far back, but Vi wants to make sure that you can go in. Rell wants to follow that up. The Rumble ultimate combo is also there. The Poppy, I think, is going to be an effective tool to help mitigate that. But, Dagda, we've cast a lot of Mad Lions games, and you and I specifically have cast many of their games where they don't actually have that much engage. And those end up being very drawn-out games because they get early game leads, they're effective at playing around the mid-game, they're pretty smart around their side lane usage as well, but then when they need to play around objectives, their setups aren't always optimal, so you end up in this very awkward back and forth because they don't have a reliable way to start a fight.
Yeah, and that's why I thought they'd go for the Alistair here. It's decent into the Rell, and you can still have that engage tool available, but this now means that you have to be very careful how you set up for objectives. Try and find ways to utilize this Maokai ultimate very effectively, especially around choke points more in the enemy jungle. So I feel like you need to get ahead and keep that lead now very effectively as MDK, and that's not an easy task against Fnatic.
At the moment, we are preparing to get into game one between Fnatic and Mad Lions Koi. The winner books their spot in the grand finals in Munich. Both these teams have sat atop the LEC before. I was trying to go serious, but as soon as you crack out the Akali emote, you know, it's done. Let's get onto the whip as MDK take on Fnatic.
Now, the players probably aren't feeling the pressure that I'm about to talk to, but a lot of fans are going to be watching this game very closely. This series, I should say, because they are our world representatives, and the expectations are going to be high, right? Often when Europe sends our teams internationally, it's kind of the lens is on G2 in the hopes that they can do something, and then everyone else is just kind of there. Yep. And so, given that Fnatic's recent performance this year, they've now been able to beat G2 twice. Their early games have been proven to be the best in the league. People want to see them consistently converting those early game leads into dominant performances, and they want to be able to fully support Fnatic as we get closer and closer to the international stage, especially with the finals on the horizon next week. MDK, their creativity is something that has stood out for them, an organization that has consistently made worlds and has a bit of a mixed reputation when it comes to international performances. But it's a brand new roster, a fresh face, and we're looking to see something new, innovative from them. And I will say their draft a little stock standard, but I'm excited to see what they show us in this series today.
I think that's the big question around MDK, right? Because there are justifiable doubts about Mad Lions, and now Mad Lions Koi at Worlds. And they showed us against G2 that they can innovate and that they can invent, and now here we see a more standard composition from them, and we need to see if they can be consistent in a composition that we're more likely to see on the world stage.
And that's why I was kind of surprised to see them go for a draft like this. I expected something funky coming through from Myrwn, especially if you're expecting the Rumble pick. We kind of talked about on 4 or 5, but they're just going for the bog standard to see what they can do. But as Vedi was alluding to, this is kind of the standard where MDK go for very little engage, and I am worried about this as the game starts to go on, as Supa looking to try and trade against Noah, but nothing gonna happen.
Poppy not going to offer a huge amount of threat immediately. Of course, the Halo Blades coming out is something that we've come to know, largely due to Mickey being a big advocate for the champion. But in these early trades, Jhin is someone you have to really respect because of his early trading power, especially when he has that 4th shot. And, you know, Dagda, you were talking about it in the draft. Given MF's ability to gain prio in the lane, the way that she uses her E to apply that slow, the easy trades that she has with the auto reset from her Q, she's just such a powerful laner. Jhin is one of the few champions that can kind of contest and match that push and dueling prowess.
It was interesting to see the way this lane started, though, because traditionally we've seen Rell go for the W start, so you can try and get the shield, look for early trades, but Jhin actually opting in towards the Q for the shield break on towards Poppy, so then he can try and go a little bit more aggressive. Has been pretty cool.
It's also, you really get screwed if you go for the W start, because both the crash down and the mount up are actually dashes. So if Poppy takes Steadfast Presence at level 1, you try and crash down, you just immediately get knocked back and take damage anyway. So I understand going for that Shadowing Strike first. It does make sense for Jhin, and you can always line up Supa and Alvaro for that double stun.
Now, in terms of lane priority, you'll notice that MDK were able to get a bit of prio on the bot side of the map, allowing them to get that first base. In the mid lane, Fresskowy doing the same thing with his Ezreal. On the top side of the map, meanwhile, Oscar, as you'd expect with the Rumble, able to gain that early prio. The junglers haven't really looked to leverage that. They've prioritized just getting a full clear. We can now see them securing the Scuttle Crab. But as I say that, Razork may be turning his attention to top, but I was about to say that diving at Cassante is always a risky thing to do, and he's not going to look for it. So both junglers will look to reset and provide a bit of cover for their team.
It's the support I'm keeping my eyes on, though. Alvaro roamed up here, probably expecting to try and catch out Razork in case he was trying to play around mid lane, as that is definitely something Razork's wanting to do, but just now covering Fresskowy as he gets this wave pushed out. So definitely MDK coming in with a clear game plan of, hey, we want to try and make sure Razork can't interact in the early stages and just let ourselves scale into a decent position.
It works well. If you can shut down Razork, you can really shut down Fnatic in the early game. So often he is that catalyst for how Fnatic's early games go. Super able to catch this wave anyway, not losing out too much. In fact, it's still even in terms of farm, with both the AD carries going for Cull, just expecting to farm up on that bottom side of the map.
I will say, when I kind of look for potential plays that either side can make, I do think in the early game MDK are a little limited. I think maybe top lane would be one of their easiest in terms of setup. Bot lane for Fnatic is where I'd be eyeing for a potential dive or play, but against a Poppy, MF, it can be very risky. So I wonder what the game plan is for both junglers. Are they even considering going for these early ganks, or instead is the priority just setting their sights on these early objectives? Dragon, Grubs, these objectives that are now making their way onto the Rift. Is this something that these teams are going to look to try and leverage their pressure to prioritize in the early game? Or will it be about trying to find those early dives and kills?
What I'd like to probably see Fnatic go for is, instead of trying to make a play on towards Poppy, try and make a play on towards Elyoya. You're getting the push on that bottom side. I don't know, taking a lot of damage there from Alvaro, and you can try and get in onto the bottom side. They had a good ward on this top side, just in front of the blue, where they could have tried to invade knowing that Elyoya was going bot, but not willing to follow up.
Yeah, not able to do it, but have to keep our eyes on these junglers as the game does progress. The two junglers that have kind of battled out near the top of the LEC standings over the last few years, Elyoya and Razork, seen as the next level of, or the next ascendance to the crown of best jungler in Europe after Jankos.
New generation.
New generation, that's what I was looking for, Dagda, thank you. And they've always been those impetuses for those teams, those players that are calling out the shots and making the plays for both these squads in the early game. Here we see Elyoya going for this first Drake, and it looks like Razork is going to try and trade it for the Crux.
Remember that they did get that nice trade against Noah, and also both junglers were just pathing in a convenient way for this to be able to work out. It was the Maokai that started on his top side, the Vi starting on the bot side, so as they did another full clear, they're in a good position to set up for these objectives, and it's ultimately just going to be a cross map. And it comes back to what we were talking about earlier. What is the early game priority going to be for these junglers? Fnatic has push on top, MDK have push on bot, so you know what, they're going to use that push to secure those neutrals, and they're going to be happy with the trade for now.
And I think it's smart from MDK to try and put the priority on towards dragons. When you're up against this composition from Fnatic, you really need an excuse to try and draw them into you, because otherwise they are just going to be able to play from range and make things very uncomfortable for you. So at least looking at dragons gives you an opportunity to try and set up for a potential fight, especially if you can try and get push on any of your lanes. Just having that first setup in river is going to be crucial for MDK's success.
Moment, Fnatic, after getting the push in the bot lane, have moved Jhin and Noah up towards mid. More for cover than for anything else. Fresskowy is going to be able to back away here. Doesn't have the TP, but the wave... Oh, that's a difficult one to read immediately off the bat. Looks like it is going to slowly push towards the side of MDK. Might be wrong on that. 1, 2, 3. You count the minions. Count the minions is always the strategy, Dagda. It will be about even.
Thanks, mate.
I can't count that quickly, okay?
Your instincts were right.
Yeah, my instincts were right. The cannon's got too much health. It's definitely going to push towards MDK.
Do you not
100%.
remember the little journal you got on day 1 of casting that just says, don't do math on screen?
It's true. It's true. I've been playing too much WoW over the last few days. Okay, my casting brain isn't there. You asked me about Preservation Evoker, I can tell you everything. And by everything, I mean sometimes I heal people.
Well, that's everything I needed to know.
Exactly.
So it's great.
Of course, both teams with a very measured approach. I will say we had, well, mixed expectations on what the series would deliver for us. This was low on my list.
Yeah.
Bloodshed, Wrath, Fury, Chaos was higher on the list.
Spanish cursing somewhere sprinkled in the midst of that.
What do you mean we're playing brand top? You know, these sort of things is what I was expecting. But no, both teams, a very measured approach, taking their time. Game 1 starting off slow. I'm hoping for an intense series. Yesterday we went the full 5 games. And against 2 of the best teams that Europe has to offer, I'm hoping for a competitive series. Right now, both teams are kind of setting up for those mid-game fights, working towards those early game objectives. As so far, nothing really to write home about. They've been cross-mapping effectively. Both teams have been testing the waters here and there. You can see them eyeing up a potential dive on the bot side of the map. It's going to be risky, given that Jhin has just ticked over to level 6. They have good vision control.
Noah has cleanse as well, which makes it a little bit more tricky to lock him up. As they step forward, might look for a Nature's Grasp. There's a Shadowing Strike. Alvaro is going to come in from the side. Make it rain. From Supa will get the slow, but I don't think MDK can do much with a single cannon and a caster there. Equalizer down on Myrwn. He dashes away with a Pathmaker. Not falling for the trap of Q3ing Oscar and then pulling him back across the equalizer that we saw happen yesterday. Nature's Grasp comes out, tanked up. Noah has to cleanse away. Jhin flashes underneath the tower. Alvaro flashes forward. Noah away from this as the bullet time rains hell down onto the face of Jhin. The curtain's open, but Elyoya will be able to walk away from this one. More about clearing the wave than anything here for Noah.
Nicely done by MDK. So I think once they saw Oscarinin ult on top side, they were expecting Razork to be up there and look for the dive. So they instead go for their own play in the bottom end and end up catching out Jhin. Fnatic just couldn't stay underneath their turret to keep themselves safe.
If we get a replay, I'd like to try and understand the logic of Jhin using his W when he did, because I felt like that's what Supa was waiting for before using the ultimate. That was really the only thing that could have interrupted him, given that the stun was already used earlier. I felt like the Jhin was in a relatively safe spot, and it didn't feel like that he had a target to knock up underneath the tower or something to be able to trade 1-for-1, or even set up Noah to be able to trade a kill back either. So in any case, as you rightly said, MDK do find themselves with a kill. They'll start off the game with first blood. Dragon spawns in about a minute and a half, with the grub spawning in about 30 seconds. The swap has come through from MDK, so they've definitely set their sights on being able to contest these next grubs.
And now we see the balance in this game really falls between Oscarinin and Supa. Oscar's about 1,000 gold ahead on the Rumble in the top lane, as to be expected on Rumble into a tank in the early game. Supa has about the same lead in the bot lane for MDK. The question is, can Supa survive when we get towards those team fights, with a Vi diving in, with a Rell diving in, with the equalizer on top of it? It does become trickier. Right now, they've moved Supa up to the top side to play around those grubs. They took the first Drake of the game, so might just be an exchange again. Oscar, equalizer, not up yet, as he's caught underneath the tower. Steadfast presence out by Alvaro, but Oscar survives for the moment. Should be able to clear out the wave. Myrwn, Q3, knocked back with the Bolt Breaker, but Pathmaker keeps him alive. Noah underneath the tower, taking a couple of shots. Will they look for more on this dive? Myrwn still has the all-out. Humanoid's on his way across to bolster the attack, and Myrwn, even with an all-out, can't get out of that. Razork has to flash away. The True Shot barrage goes wide, and Fnatic find a kill on the dive.
Oscarinin also just got in range there to ult the top wave, so clears that one out as well. So at least for Fnatic, they're kind of helping themselves to everything on the map right now and keeping Noah in a good spot.
The dive was well executed. I will say that we've seen some shaky dives from our teams in the season finals, but that was clean from both MDK earlier and Fnatic again here. They were very respectful of the Cassante. They were patient in waiting for Humanoid to come down. And when all 4 members were ready, they caught Myrwn off guard before he could use that third Q proc. And we're going to get a look back at it now. So great patience from Fnatic. They kind of chip away at his H-bar initially to then set up for Humanoid, who's already on his way down.
Yeah, I know it just tries to go for the W, but he already has the unstoppable there, but it doesn't really matter. They just buy time then, wait for Humanoid to come in over the back of it, and then they're able to get that combo there to just keep Myrwn in check. Easy setup then. Razork ends up flashing away. I don't know if he was a bit uncertain as to where the Ezreal ult was, because he would have made it out of tower range, but better safe than sorry on something like that.
Yeah, I definitely think Myrwn's last-ditch Q was more effective, and I don't think Elyoya was expecting that to hit. So, as you rightly said, just using that flash out of respect. I'll also say, no, tagging up those shots, seems like he just wanted to make sure he got the 4th shot off so he could start reloading already. So good awareness from him, knowing that he's going to need those bullets for the second attempt on the dive. As Fnatic have now brought Humanoid down to the bot lane. They've actually kept Noah in mid, knowing that Humanoid can just siege on these towers faster. And as MDK have clearly set their sights on the top tower, maybe Fnatic is looking at a redive.
Can wait for it. Two-shot barrage comes out. That tower still has 1 plate on it. Path make it in, but Razork's tanking the turret. All out comes out. There's the Magnet Storm as well. Myrwn down to half HP. Humanoid dashing forward. No mana on the Corki now as Supa and Alvaro continue to rattle on that top lane turret. They should be able to take this first. Another wave comes in about 5 seconds, and no wave for Fnatic means the first turret blood will go over to MDK.
They don't need to greed for the kill. Ultimately, they've zoned Myrwn away from the farm, as that's what's happening to Oscar on the top side of the map. They will secure the tower just barely ahead of their opposition.
Never in doubt, Betty. I said it was true. It's always going to happen.
You're a wise man.
Thanks.
And
we also have Myrwn in the game. He's a wise man too. If only we had frankincense and gold.
Yeah.
Is it golden or
I don't know.
Frankenstein in Linden?
Great trades from both sides. I gotta bring us back. What am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to follow that up?
Yeah, it was good. It was good. It's true.
We're just so far ahead when it comes to witty comments.
But although there hasn't been that much bloodshed, we have seen trading of objectives in this early game. 3 gobs apiece, a Drake apiece, a turret apiece, and a kill apiece. And the gold basically even between these two teams, around 50G, sorry, the difference between the two. And you can see that Oscarinin super divide I talked about before continues to take effect in this game.
It is clean standard league so far, right? Both teams are cross-mapping effectively. They are, I'm not sure if you, I guess you could argue that Myrwn did make a mistake in allowing him to get dived, and you could make the same argument that MDK being able to find that dive on a Jhin and Noah, like, sure, if you want to get into the particulars, but them getting dived is what it is. Now MDK, though, have been able to get the 3 grubs from earlier. They also secured the Herald, and now they can use this to put pressure on the mid tower. This should give them a better map state if they can secure this one with the wave at their backside as well. I see no reason why they can't take this one down, so nice. This is probably the first major advantage that MDK will have gained over Fnatic, just because of how much additional map control this will give them.
Especially the control over that bottom side of the map. It makes it so difficult for Oscarinin to try and hold on to that mid lane turret, because the whole reason you have MF is she's so good at bullying the enemy AD carry, so she'll be able to get that full push in mid and unlock then Alvaro to start leaning bot with Elyoya, and Oscarinin just can't stick around to hold on to that bottom tier 1, so you really do open up the map here for MDK.
I will also say that this Jhin build, I think, doesn't really come online until his 3rd item. Like, because they usually go rapid fire cannon second, and it's just...
It's the mosquito build.
Yeah, he needs to go the static shiv for the additional wave clear, especially against a champion like MF. And so Fnatic are probably quite content to play a slow and steady game to allow him to ramp up. Against double tank, I am a little, well, I guess you could argue triple tank with the Poppy there as well. I have concerns about how effective he's going to be at melting through the front line, but of course they do have the Rumble and they have the Corki as well, who's going to beat that additional damage threat. Either way, the gold, largely dead even, a fairly even game. And we're getting ready for the next Dragon, where we may see our first big fight of the match.
Talked a little bit about the pressure on the teams in terms of showing up now so that the public has more confidence with you at internationals, but I think both these teams, having watched yesterday, will be saying, hey, if we show up now, like, there's a very real possibility that we win the LEC. G2 are nowhere near the team that they have been in recent months or even in recent years. It feels like we can actually overcome them and supplant them as the champions of the LEC. For Fnatic, it's been all the way since 2018 since they were able to do that. Obviously, Mad Lions Koi have won a little bit more recently than that, but...
I mean, just... both of these teams have beaten G2 in recent history. Fnatic did it in Summer Split in the upper bracket, and Mad Lions did it just 2 weeks ago. So, I mean, they should have the confidence, and winning this game is only going to give them even more. They've set their sights on Myrwn in the top side of the map. I don't think they can really run the risk of a dive, though. They're just trying to overstack to chip away at this tower.
It's a good trade from Fnatic, though, because essentially MDK went for the play we were talking about, which was push mid, lean into boss, and they end up spending time on MDK chasing Oscarinin out, so they don't actually invest members onto that tower. So you get the top tower, you get that pressure onto the top tier 2. They do give the dragon to MDK, but I think the only mistake Fnatic... Oh, actually, it might get Myrwn here.
Flash forward with the Vault Breaker into the cease and desist. Myrwn tries to dash away, but he's already on 300 HP. A dash, a flash, not enough with the Magnet Storm pulling him back. Fnatic get their second on the board.
This should open up this top tower as well. The damage is already done earlier. Alvaro hovering around to try and deny the tower, but it's going to be secured. Fnatic, at the cost of the dragon, will unlock another tower.
And it's great from Fnatic to play away from Supa as well. As he walked towards the mid lane, they went in at the top. He's currently at 2 items, the strongest point of this MDK lineup. If you can find picks when Supa's not there, you can really utilize that advantage.
Yeah, and from the get-go, Fnatic could kind of set their sights on that. We were just saying, look, they went for the trade. It was really nice, but I think Myrwn stepping up, they were kind of like, oh, fantastic. We can actually get a little bit more off that. So get the play. Now they're in position to come back out onto the map. There is no real objectives up for them at the moment, but honestly, I think just trying to play through side lanes is really good for Fnatic right now. Their top side is very far ahead in Oscarinin, and you've just hit that 2-item build for Humanoid, so being able to play on sides at the moment is strong for them.
Remember that Myrwn also itemizing magic resistance, as you would imagine, into the Rumble, which just leaves you susceptible to a Corki Vi, who as a duo just do have a lot of damage, especially with the Trinity Force spike coming in from Humanoid. So I think the target selection makes sense. Right now, we kind of turn our attention towards things like Baron become an option. Fnatic would love to set their sights on that mid tower, but they know with the wave clear of the Misfortune, it's going to be a difficult one to siege. Alternatively, Mad Lions Koi, now that they've opened up all these outer towers, I think the priority is just to continue farming, working towards those next core items. You can see with Supa already securing 2, working towards that 3rd. MDK are gearing up, and they're likely going to be ready for a fight that bit before Fnatic is.
The thing is, though, Fnatic love to make these little sneaky plays, and if you keep your eyes on the mini-map, you'll notice there's just a little ward right in the middle of that lane, and I have no doubt that Humanoid is eyeing that ward up greedily. The second Myrwn steps up past that, I have a feeling Fnatic are going to start those TP plays and see if they can very quickly pick someone off and just start to elevate their game plan a little bit more, maybe even finding more though here.
First one to be caught out, and he's going to go down immediately. The equalizer not well placed. Cease and desist going in, but the shield is enough for Fresskowy with the locket. There's one for Supa. Razork dashing back in, but he's going to be put in the dirt for a double, and MDK come alive.
A nice collapse from MDK. Fnatic was stacking on the top side, and they were making the rotation towards mid, and MDK was able to punish them in that movement. An area of the map that Fnatic didn't have full information of. Alvaro gets another one, and now MDK will secure the mid tier 2. Oh, I spoke too soon. They didn't have enough of a minion wave. But overall, great play from MDK.
I think they'll take the 4 kills. You know, the mid tier 2 would have been a cherry on top of that cake.
I mean, the MDK are going to be delighted, and a lot of their fans as well. This is not the MDK that I expect to show up. They're taking a very standard build and beating Fnatic at their own game.
Cheating tempo as well here. Elyoya took the long way around. Jhin thought everyone had gone back to base, but he's the only one doing that now. Sent back to the fountain. A TP in as MDK may turn their eyes towards the Baron.
Yeah, why not? The numbers advantage. Noah's still not respawned yet, and he's going to take a while to get back there. Myrwn can act on zoning duty, and they're going to accelerate this game.
No equalizer for Oscarinin. Myrwn being the bouncer, holding Razork at bay. Humanoid coming in, no vision over the wall. There's one sapling there as Myrwn jumps in. The Entofus come out, the Nature's Grasp to follow up. And Razork is sent packing. MDK keep the Baron aggro. The curtains open and Elyoya dashes in with a twisted advance. Hit with one shot, a second hits Myrwn, but Humanoid tries to steal, can't get it. Good smite from Elyoya as MDK take control of this game.
MDK are playing this fantastically. They set up this pick on the top side of the map and it works out beautifully. Fnatic essentially trying to get vision on the top side so they can rotate from top to mid, but end up getting caught out. A brilliant ultimate coming across from Supa onto multiple members with a lockup from Elyoya to set that one up as well. Fnatic just got absolutely destroyed as they tried to set up their vision.
And this play from Alvaro was crucial to open up the Baron because they knew that Noah would stick around to try and catch this wave. The minions were so low, a single Q, that bouncing grenades could have been enough to clear it out, and he punishes that fact. After getting that kill, Jhin then oversteps and they convert it into another pick. And now with the numbers advantage, they know they can start this Baron. If nothing else, they can get another fight from it. And they secure the Baron. Great sequence of events from MDK to capitalize on that punish.
And the great thing is, the sequence doesn't stop there. You can get pushing lanes with your Baron buff, you can step in, you can suffocate vision and control of these jungle camps away. And look at what's coming up in 20 seconds time. The Infernal Drake's sole point for MDK, if they take it, they can utilize the entirety of this Baron to push out all these waves, get as much standing gold off the map as possible, and then still reset and go for that Drake.
And look at the difference between the AD carries. Infinity Edge now finished for Supa. Ooh, Alvaro.
Equalizer goes down, Magnustorm as well to follow up. Okay, maybe they can't use the entirety of the Baron buff to push in after losing Alvaro, but they can still turn their attentions back towards that Drake if they so desire.
MDK just hadn't really set up properly for the push that they were going for. They overextended on the mid wave when they were still waiting for Myrwn to crash that top wave. They really should have drifted from mid to top and forced pressure onto Fnatic, but by trying to go for the mid lane turret, Alvaro gets punished. No, Jhin might be.
Face check, flashes away, Vault Breaker in by Razork. Currently it's only a 4v4, the TP behind, but the bullet time dodged this! Razork sent packing, the rest of Fnatic retreating. Humanoid's behind MDK right now, but doesn't really have a way to join the fray. Oscarinin slowed up with the Make It Rain. Fresskowy and Humanoid might butt heads in the bot lane.
MDK a bit mixed on what they want to convert this into. I think they've set their sights on the bot tier 2. The Dragon is, of course, alive, but you don't want to go for that objective immediately. You want to leverage the fact that there are dead members on the side of Fnatic to siege onto these towers. Oscar may have overstepped.
Myrwn going in, Pathmaker flashed away from. Had to respect the fact he could be pulled back by Myrwn. And now the Drake in the eyes of MDK. Alvaro already back with his teammates.
They should be able to convert this into the Dragon. So on their way out after being happy with that, I mean, look at the value they got out of that Baron. They secured 2 tier 2 towers and they'll get a Dragon and a few extra kills.
The MDK are playing around their compositional weak points though really, really well. Yeah. When you look at, hey, we are struggling to engage at long range, they're just playing around Fog of War consistently and finding picks onto Fnatic as they try to either set up vision or contest. And you get a good example of it here, right? This area is completely dark for Fnatic, so MDK, they just play for that opportunity to find the pick. And then it's when Fnatic overextend on the engage, that's when they turn around and find that good counterpoint.
Yeah. The question for me becomes like, why are Fnatic skipping steps? You're just walking into an area that doesn't belong to you. Typically, the way that you would do this is you'd either get pushed through bot and then you'd leverage that point of pressure to then move together up through the river, or you'd push in through mid and you'd get them to try and contest, and if they don't come and fight you, you can at the very least unlock mid tower. Instead, they just walk in and you could sit there and argue, well, Jhin is dying because he's the one that has to face check, and you would be right. But we've seen him getting caught out now. It feels like that Fnatic are disconnected, and what was a very solid early game with a lot of trading back and forth, I completely agree with you, Dagda. MDK are just leveraging Fog of War and playing the map better.
And you can see it from MDK's vision control as well. They have deeper wards, they have more wards further into the Fnatic side of the jungle. But remember what we talked about in spring for Fnatic? Remember what we talked about at MSI when they lost to Team Liquid? Skipping steps when they think they have an advantage. And it feels like it's a similar problem that's occurring today so far.
Yeah, they had the 4 versus 5, so just thought, hey, we can just out-muscle you, and now they're getting out-muscled on the top side. It's Alvaro gets him!
Oh my god! You just don't get a chance to move. No flash, of course. That was burned in the bot lane by Myrwn earlier on. Humanoid trying to push that out, but Myrwn's going to catch him.
I mean, if I could surmise that from one of the great philosophers, I would say I am Groot, you know? Just perfectly summarizes that play.
Groot.
Well executed.
Yeah, you and Vin Diesel right up there with Plato.
Another tower going to be secured for Fresskowy. MDK leveraging that Maokai ultimate to perfection. Exactly what you want to do with it. It's such a great zoning tool. And Oscar with no flash was very limited on options. Jhin, though, again, we've seen this pattern. The Observer's doing a great job of showing what Jhin sees, and he's hesitant.
Razork's there with him. Make it rain for the slow. He manages to jump away. Although he has the Warmogs, I don't think he has the upgrade yet, unless Overgrowth has given him enough. No, not yet. It needs another Ruby Crystal to really get that. Oh, no, he does. Okay, so Overgrowth's given him enough minions to get that Warmog's passive on.
But Fnatic are just completely stuck in their own bases. Vedius was saying, you just don't have the opportunity to push into this topside jungle. And anytime you do, MDK are just going to continuously take pop shots at you and use the fact that they've actually got the Ezreal and the MF. So Fnatic are really struggling in this position.
Yeah, Observes once again highlighting this darkness that MDK consistently creates.
Elyoya flashes in, the bullet time comes in with the cease and desist. Equalizer laid down as well, and Supa's been locked up on it. Keeper's verdict, guilty for 2. Jhin and Razork chucked away, with Oscarinin ignited, but he'll survive to fight another day. They thought they'd caught Supa, but it's not quite enough damage.
A great example of the dive idea from Fnatic. How MF, when she ults, basically leaves herself stationary. Fnatic with a good collapse, but then the Poppy showing its value. A fantastic ultimate to knock away the divers, create that space, and allowing MDK to disengage, not falling prey to a fight that they ultimately didn't want to take.
And for MDK now, they've already established a lot of that vision on top side. Baron now just about spawns, so Fnatic very heavily trying to push in towards this mid lane, see if they can catch Myrwn, but at least get this wave push out so they can try and contest from mid in towards river. But again, MDK, if you can control these choke points here, and then as you try to push in through here as well, you're in a really good spot with the MF ult, and just Alvaro fishing for some of these picks.
Just gate Fnatic from actually ever being able to walk towards that Baron area. There's a 2-item difference between the AD carries right now. Supa has the Essence Reaver, Bloodthirst, Infinity Edge, and the Rapid Fire Cannon, where Noah's only sitting on an Infinity Edge and the Static Shiv with a Last Whisper in his pockets. And the lead that we talked about on the top side for Oscarinin hasn't really been able to be that impactful. He's only at 2.5 items himself. Almost has that third. Crypt Bloom or Void Staff on its way. That Blightning Jewel.
Yeah, we're yet to really see a strong fight from Fnatic. The TP flank.
Nature's Grass goes out. Razork has to step forward, has the Bolt Breaker, will dash down, but Fresskowy begins to open up. Now Elyoya's been caught. Myrwn tries to get to the back line. Fresskowy's already killed off Razork down towards the bottom side of the fight. The all-out pulls back Humanoid! And MDK welcome him to the family, as Vin Diesel would say. They take him out, and Fnatic now only have 3 to try and defend the Baron play from MDK.
I mean, it's an easy Baron and a well-executed fight. MDK, the concerns that I had around their engage are just proving to be a non-factor. They leveraged the Maokai ultimate to split apart Fnatic. They have Myrwn finding these flanks, and they use Alvaro as a flash stun bot. He's just willing to go in, set up the play for his team, and all they need is a single pick or 2, and now they'll convert it into the Dragon Soul. This team was on the cusp of being eliminated from the summer split. They would not have been able to qualify for anything. And now they find themselves with a level of play that I was not expecting. I mean, look at the execution of this fight.
I mean, this is so impressive. Fresskowy being able to chase out Razork, and the fact that you have that ultimate from Elyoya to completely split out Fnatic. Myrwn with a great position there to catch out Humanoid as well. It really does feel like MDK are trying to steal that pink slip of the finals ticket away from Fnatic, and it's a head scratcher. This is incredible performance from MDK, and the big thing for me is that it's not cheesy. It's not with some weird pick. It's standard League of Legends that they, and even a difficult composition of that to execute, and they're executing well.
They do still need to break the base.
Season assist in, Keeper's verdict, stopwatch from Supa. Didn't expect him to have that one in his toolkit, and now Razork pays the price for not pressing tab. Noah's caught in the bullet time, and MDK are going to rip straight through Fnatic and take game 1.
Supa with the smart purchase to buy himself a little bit more time in the fight. He knows that if he gets caught, the game can be turned, but he will not get caught. He will not be denied, and MDK are looking to go 1-0 up in this best of 5.
Oscarinin trying to do anything he can to defend, but I'm afraid he can't do much. Set Packing joins his team in body bags as MDK go 1-0 up in this series.
Whew. What a game from Madline's Koi. Great, slow pressure in the early stages, constantly trading back and forth, making sure that they were going to be okay coming out of that early game, and then executing well around Fog of War, finding picks on, basically abusing Fnatic playing a standard League of Legends around their vision, and that was fantastic.
I mean, it was the vision game, really.
Yeah.
Like, you caught it, you talked about it in the game, Dagda, and I think that it was so huge as to why they were able to win. We'll see how Fnatic addresses this as we go to a quick break. We'll see you in a few.
was my best intro
Get into
ever.
it, yeah.
Yeah, not bad, hey, not bad.
Talented.
I can go
Yeah,
pro.
yeah.
You know it as well. I also know you can dance. You should join me next time. And yes, I feel like you've also deserved a bit of a break. You've earned it.
Thanks.
Even the biggest champ needs a break.
Good job.
Hey, thank you.
Red Bull gives you wings.